swelling just above her knee. It's just a strain. How's your leg? Natalie pushed down on Cason's leg as she stretched at the bar. They were back at the Atlanta Ballet Conservatory less than 10 hours later. Her audition was in an hour. The adjudicators from the American Ballet Theater were already in another studio, setting up. Fine, she said with a tight smile on her face, cutting off the conversation. Stretch deeper. Natalie forced Cason's center closer to the floor. Her thigh was burning, muscles pulling, little bubbles that pulsed with pain clawing under her skin and through the fibers of her connective tissue. The American Ballet Theater is running this audition at ABC because of me. It was the start of a very familiar lecture. The underlying message was quite simple. Do not embarrass me. I expect more than your best. When did Natalie Martin not expect more than Cason's best? You only made it in the summer program last year, Natalie reminded her. You could have spent the last year training under some of the best. I know, Mom. Cason counted each popping cell in her thigh muscle. This wasn't pain. This was minor discomfort. This was nothing. And Cason was just as desperate to get into the studio company as her mother was. If she got in, she would move to New York. She would spend her days dancing and dancing and dancing, surrounded by people who understood the release of landing the perfect grand jeté. Think about it, Cason. Natalie's excitement grew as she pushed Cason's legs farther, taking the stretch deeper, opening her hips. There were at least 100 reasons Cason wanted to be invited to join the studio company of the American Ballet Theater. But number one was being away from Natalie Martin. She stretched, moved, and marked her solo as she waited. The auditions were running on time, and only a couple dancers would go before her. She would dance and leave. There would be no callbacks. Cuts had been made that morning in the company class. Last year, during this same audition, Cason had been unable to stop the nerves that had filled her veins, running over her heart, little electric pulses making her normally graceful movements jerky. She had barely made it through the group audition and into the solos. This year, while the other girls waited, she watched the way the girls showed off their flexibility, the hyperextension of their knees and hips, the beautiful lifts to their arabesques. Cason bit her lip, refusing to acknowledge the pain in her leg. So much worse than the tiny shocks of nerves, doing so much more damage to her body. Pain had to have an audience to be felt, so she ignored it, pretending that the ache in her muscles was from use, not from injury. She would be the best. She was the best. Being one of Natalie Martin's prima ballerinas meant she had to be the best. The hallway was filled with other dancers, all of them in their leotards and skirts. Some chatted. Cason did not. She closed her eyes and focused on everything but the pain that slid around her tendons and bone, little burning points that tried to pull her attention away from the task at hand. It's just a strain. Cason Martin? There were routine introductions and reminders of how she would find out if she was being asked to join the company or the summer program. She smiled and nodded, not wanting to appear overly confident. But she knew. She knew this audition would get her out of Atlanta and away from the expectations of Natalie Martin. She gave the assistant her music and made her way to the middle of the floor. Whenever you're ready. She'd started to go up on her toes when she heard the door open and Natalie Martin slipped in. Cason held in her groan of frustration. There was no smile of pride on Natalie's face, just the tight lips of someone judging every move that she made. Painful fire fought with the anxiety that slid around her stomach and spine. Cason let her eyes close for a second. Focus. Feel. Cason pulled in a breath, tightening each muscle in her body. The music was her partner, guiding her as she flew into the air, her jeté high and perfect. Pain.